Bam. Bam. How are you this evening? It's 4:00 on a Sunday afternoon. I wanted to do things a certain way, and I don't know if I want to get this right. I wanted to do things a certain way, and it didn't work out. So if you've been waiting online patiently for me to get here today, I apologize. I have been I had a good idea, and it went poorly. So anyway, I'm pouring a drink. I'm thirsty. We'll talk about it. Let's see if I can get it in the camera here. That's what I'm drinking. So anyway, here, that's done. So what are we going to do today? Who am I? What's going on? My name is John Schenk. I'm the founder and managing broker of Deerwood Realty in St. Louis, Missouri. We're a small residential firm. We concentrate mainly on helping buyers buy homes and helping sellers list theirs. I just got a text. I was in my middle of my canned speech, but we don't just do that. No, we have the Deerwood Realty live stream, the Deerwood Realty channel, where we talk about things going on from a more national perspective. We provide commentary. We might interview a guest every once in a while if I could ever get a guest that would be interested. I'm at 98 subscribers as of today. It's August 21st, 2022. I'm not going to lie. I'm not going to sugarcoat this at all. I want a million subscribers. I do. Why not? I mean, of all the channels out there, who wouldn't want to follow a real estate channel where we talk about like stuff that really matters? I mean, when you go and you start looking for a house to buy, you should probably do more than just call a real estate agent and just hope. That's probably not a very good strategy. It's not one that I would recommend. You better learn a little bit about real estate before you get out there and play. It doesn't matter who you are. A lot of people think that, oh, well, if I'm an investor, I need to learn. But if I'm just a regular person, I don't have to learn anything. I'll just do whatever my real estate agent says and everything will be fine. That's a terrible idea. Don't do that. Learn. Just hang out with me for maybe a week. Go to 5 of my live streams. Let's talk about what's going on in the marketplace. Let's talk about the perspective, the mindset that you might need to have in place to go and actually, really do something in the marketplace. Really get something that you want, get something you're happy with. Don't be surprised by bad events. And the same thing on the selling side. Look, are you sitting at your house right now saying, I'm going to list my house next week? The housing market is super hot and I'm going to list it for 20 grand over any possible way it's going to sell because I think that's a great idea and I'm greedy. Do you think that's going to work right now? Well, my neighbor sold their house 6 months ago and it worked for them. Yes, that was 6 months ago. And that's a recorded sale. So what makes you think the 20 more is going to work on your house now? With the interest rates then were 2.9. We're running at 6% now. You think that's going to work? I don't think that's a good plan. You may be one of those people that says, hey, screw you. I don't need a real estate agent. I don't like your people. I don't like your kind. All right, well, go out there and do it. Go out there and sell your house. Go out there and find a house to buy that makes sense for you. I'm not advocating that you have to use me. I'm not advocating that you have to use a real estate agent. Some real estate agents are terrible. There's no question. But what I'm trying to do is say, look, I mean, your friend may have bought a house, but that's not you. Your uncle may have bought a house, but that's not you. You are an individual. You are the only person that matters in this transaction. So you better get it right because you're not going to be able to blame your brother. You're not going to be able to blame a family member. It's just going to be on you. So that's where I'm at today. What are we going to talk about? Well, I saw an article and it said that you shouldn't be drinking rainwater. And I thought to myself, what hadn't occurred to me. My wife got me onto this, filtered water. I'll drink filtered water now out of the thing. I used to just drink it out of the tap. I didn't think anything was wrong with that, but apparently you're not allowed to. There's all kinds of chemical. I don't know. Whatever it is, I'm not allowed to do it. If I want to drink water, I have to use the refrigerator thing, and then we have to use bottled water everywhere. Irony in that article being that I think the plastic of the bottled water is what's causing it to not be safe to drink the rainwater. But again, we'll go through it. I don't really understand the article, but we'll talk about that. Let's see what else we have to talk about. I'm going to throw a bunch of stuff in today because it's Sunday and I just want a nice, relaxed, chill stream. We're going to talk about housing affordability and things that you don't need during your house hunt. I think that's going to be a fascinating article, something that I'm intrigued by, because I feel like, you need some things on a house hunt. You need to have a clue. So let's go over the day. This weekend, for whatever, I think it's because it's a great weekend weather-wise here in St. Louis. This weekend I have no showings. I've not had any showings yesterday, and I don't have any showings today. So last night, I told you on Friday that I had a car race to go to. The Indy Racing League was in St. Louis. My wife and I went last night. It was a wonderful time, but we had to leave at like 3 p.m. Didn't get home until like 9. I went into a food coma. For those of you who don't know what a food coma is, it's when I eat and all of a sudden I get tired and I fall asleep. Then I wake up and I'm like, what the hell happened? But anyway, food coma. It was 10 o'clock. I didn't jump on the stream. Do I feel bad about that? Do I feel bad that I don't stream every day? Yes. Do I feel bad that I don't stream at the same time every day? Yes. But this is something that it's just, we have to deal with it. We have to deal with it. So anyway, today is Sunday. We have a wedding to go to. My wife and I have a wedding to attend, I believe, early September. And I haven't worn a suit in a number of years. I wear dress pants every day, but I wear a dress shirt, but I don't wear a suit. Well, once you try on my suit, that fit, and I didn't really want to blow $800. No offense. I didn't want to blow $800 on a suit this weekend. I did need shirts because every dress shirt I haven't put the neck around. And I don't know if you notice, I'm sporting a double chin. Before I had my beard, or before I got rid of my beard the other day, I didn't know that. I honestly didn't know it was so bad. So now that I do know that it's happening, I know that I have to make some changes so that I can fit my shirts. But anyway, that's not going to get that done in 2 weeks. So I went to Brooks Brothers. I'll tell you exactly where I go buy shirts. And it's an outlet. I go to the outlet. I don't care. And I bought 2 dress shirts for the wedding. We went to the old spaghetti factory. I don't know if you've been to the old spaghetti factory. If they have one where you're at, they have spaghetti. It's not old, but I don't know. If you enjoy it, good for you. Came home. I have the sprinkler on in the front yard for the afternoon, and I'm going to put it in the back after we get done with our live stream, and that's going to be it. I'm going to go and edit videos probably pretty much all evening. But if I were to do that ahead of time, that is edit videos, then I wouldn't get a live stream in. And to be honest with you, it's the most fun I have for the day. Why? Well, I could make a mistake. I could say the wrong thing. 2, I love the interaction with all my subscribers. Yeah. And, I think this is the place to be. I think this is what one should be doing. And so that's what we do. If you have any questions, you could put it in the comment section. I read everything that comes through now, and I'll respond to it if it makes sense. And if it's a really good question, we'll put it on the live stream. Talk about one evening. Talk in the chat. If you have a question about something going on with your specific purchase or your specific sale and you want my opinion. Now, understand I don't know every single part of the deal, but I know enough. I can normally glean a little bit from what you give me to know what to do. I've reached that stage in my career where I'm pretty good at diagnosing issues and kind of going through them. So that being said, I told you all about my day yesterday. I told you all about my day today. Tomorrow, what do we got? It's a good question. I have a closing on Tuesday or Wednesday this week. I need to kind of service that listing. It's to the finish line, but there's a few things I need to do. And then I got to get my car fixed. This upcoming week, don't expect to see a live stream from me. If you don't see one on Friday, don't expect to see one until Monday. I'm going to go out of town. I'm going to be in Waterloo, Iowa, to meet members of my wife's family and visit with them. I will have a conversation about I don't know what, but that's important to me. And then other than that, I did want to take a small moment and talk about the supers again, because I think that's important. So one of the things that I refuse to do when I'm listing a home is leave a supra on the house after the house goes under contract. There's all kinds of reasons for this. Number one, I don't want people just waltzing in, and you may think that it doesn't happen, but it does. Number two, I don't feel like it's inconvenient Like if I put a super over at a place, I might leave it, but I'll take the keys out. And if it's on a door or something where it could get damaged over time, the door itself or the paint or the finish, I typically don't leave it on just for that reason. But I learned that early in my career, and not enough people do it, in my opinion. I don't understand, like these people that put these agents that put lock boxes on houses and just call it good. I mean, it just blows my mind. Or the people that put in, there's nothing wrong with automatic locks. I kind of like them. I like just having the code and being a precedent. But you have to understand, you're giving that code out to 1,000 agents or more. And it's like, are you going to sell this house and not change the code? So that's where I'm at. What am I seeing in the marketplace for myself? Well, let me just tell you what my positioning would be right now. If a house came to market and the house was nice, that means that like there's no work that would have to be done for you to move in. We're still going to be over asking. We're still going to write a pretty aggressive offer. If a house needs a lot of work, I don't care what the price is. Anything you do is now going to be much more expensive than it was. And so why should my buyer pay for that? We're going to be a little bit more rough on the offer. That's if I'm representing buyers. If I'm representing sellers, I tend to like to have a pretty conservative listing strategy. That is, what is the houses around the neighborhood have sold? What have they sold for? What are the similarities between this house that we're going to list and the other houses? And, come up with a price that seems to make sense in the marketplace. But not only that, I'll go as far out as, a zip code if I have to find houses in the marketplace that make sense. So one of the misnomers, I think, in the market is, hey, you have to have a neighborhood expert list your house. I don't agree with that. In fact, sometimes I think that a neighborhood expert, not intentionally, keeps the prices low in a neighborhood. I think you want someone that's just a good agent, someone that's willing to do what I would call the legwork. So like, let's just say you're going to list your house in a month. If you give me 30 days to know what a house is going to sell for in your neighborhood, I'm probably going to nail it perfectly, because I'm going to go look at every other house around with the same characteristics. I'm physically going to go and I'm going to find out exactly what those houses are selling for. And then we're going to list your price or list your house accordingly. And you're probably going to sell it. It's the agents that are lazy that you have to worry about. But the issue is agents who are lazy are not ones you're going to know off the bat. Ways you can tell an agent is lazy. How do they list the property? What are the pictures that they use? Do they use a professional photographer? Or are they using their iPhone? What's the last listing look like? Is what they wrote in the listing description the same thing they've written for the last 13 listings in a row? These are things you can check. This wouldn't be too hard. I mean, that's the way I would do it. But anyway, that's where I'm at on those things. I think I'll cut into our articles now and get on with the show. Again, any questions you might have, put it in the chat. Send me a comment. It's fine. Everything's good. Let's get to it. So I saw this article and it just blew my mind, and I wanted to share it with you. This was on Google Trends, and I'm getting to it now. I don't know why. Like, why would this be the thing that people want to see today? Like, why are people looking for this? Well, apparently there was a study that came out, and apparently this is what happened out of the study. This is what they found. I went to what I would say was the original source, but I don't know that it is. I'm going, oh goodness, that's not good. What do we got now? Okay, goodness. Anyway, I'm just going with what I see. There's other places where I think it exists. I saw a commentary on this article, but we're just going to go through it because I don't know the answer. Is drinking water safe? It says, new evidence suggests it may be riskier than previously thought. It says, if you stick your tongue out on a rainy day, you might think the drops you've tasted are the same as the water that comes out of your tap, but rainwater actually contains many microscopic ingredients that get filtered out before it is pumped into your home. So is it safe to collect and drink rainwater? Now, look, I told you the situation we have at my house. I'm not even allowed to drink water out of the tap. I have to drink water only out of the refrigerator, or we have to drink bottled water. And this is not how I grew up. We drank water out of the tap. It was totally fine. I don't know anything. I just know that my wife doesn't like it, and so we don't do it. Now, I also drank water out of a hose a garden hose. Like that didn't bother me at all when I was a kid. In fact, when I was thirsty, it seemed like the best thing to do is to drink water out of the hose. It was right there. It was fun too. You could squirt around your friends and, have a good time. So anyway, all of this stuff for me is new. Like I don't understand where we've kind of come to as a culture where we can't drink water out of a tap. It seems like we're going backwards, but whatever. It says there are a number of contaminants that can end up in the rainwater, such as bacteria, viruses, parasites, dust, smoke particles, and other chemicals, according to the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. I don't think too highly of the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention anymore, based on their responses to the last couple of pandemics. If you collect rainwater from a roof, it could also contain traces left by animals, such as bird poop. And if the roof or drain pipes are old, materials such as asbestos, lead, and copper could also end up in your tank. Now, see, this is kind of, are they talking about a cistern? What are they talking about exactly? If rainwater is stored in an open container, it also may be full of insects and decaying organic matter, such as dead leaves. For these reasons, the CDC advises against collecting and drinking rainwater, but recommends it for other purposes, such as watering plants. Like, look, right now I'm using my sprinkler in the front yard, okay? And I would prefer not to. Because I just have always felt like rainwater has more whatever it is that's good for plants than this water that's been through the treatment plant. It's got chemicals in it, fluorine, chlorine, all kinds of enes. That's probably not good. So I get it. Okay. And as far as would I drink rainwater, I mean, would I stand out there and let water fall in my face and drink? Well, sure, I guess. It's not something that I'm like looking forward to doing or anything. I don't really understand. So you're not going to see me storing rainwater anyway to drink it. Maybe if I were stranded on a desert island and it rained every day and I had a way to collect the rainwater. Now the water is sea water and full of salt around me. I'm on an island and this water here is not salted. I think I'm going to drink that, the not salted water. But I'm not really in a survival environment. I'm literally right now in my basement. Anyway, it says, however, the levels of these contaminants can vary significantly depending on where you live, and the risk of illness depends largely on how much rainwater you drink. If you have a clean collection system and have properly sterilized the rainwater, either with chemicals or by boiling and distillation, then most of the impurities can be removed. This has led to a lot of confusion about whether rainwater is unsafe to drink. I don't like, are there seriously people out there that say that you should drink rainwater? Like, is your primary, I mean, now you should drink rainwater out or water that came from like, a river or something. Maybe that's the argument. I'm not exactly sure what the argument is here. I'm not going to sit there and have my primary source of water be rainwater. It says, but now in the modern age of human-made chemicals, there's a new risk associated with drinking rainwater. In a study published in August of 2022, this is the one, in the journal Environmental Science and Technology, researchers found that rainwater all over the globe has concentrations of toxic PFAS, per and polyfluorinated alkyl substances that exceed health guidelines. These findings mean that rainwater is definitely unsafe to drink, especially if it is untreated. Okay, so now just understand, right now, I'm being told that there are these new chemicals that were man-made that are now leaching into the rainwater. And then the level of these toxins in the water is not safe to drink. Now, that sounds reasonable to me. Okay. So what are these PFAS? I don't know what that means. PFAS is a collective term for more than 1,400 human-made chemicals and substances that have historically been used for a wide range of products, including textiles, firefighting foams, nonstick cookware, food packaging, artificial turf, and guitar strings. Oh, that's just different. Artificial turf and guitar strings. Lead study author Ian Cousins, an environmental chemist at Stockholm University in Sweden, told Life Science. Okay, so he says, however, the current understanding of biological impacts is based primarily on the studies of 4-perfluoroalkyl acids, which is a subgroup of PFAS. These PFAS include whatever, they're bad for you. Past research has shown that these chemicals are extremely toxic and can cause a wide range of problems, including different types of cancer, infertility, pregnancy complications, developmental problems, immune system conditions, and various diseases of the bowels, liver, and thyroid, as well as potentially decrease the effectiveness of vaccines in children. PFAS are also likely to cause additional damage to the environment, but this idea has not been studied in much detail. Well, you think you guys would be able to get on that at some point soon? That seems like something we should know. Like if it's bad for us, it's probably not good for the plants either, or animals. I mean, right now, here's where I'm at. Right now, someone could say, oh, like myself, hey, you probably shouldn't drink rainwater. Okay. And whoever I'm talking to would probably be like, hey, that's cool. I wasn't going to drink it anyway. So it's almost like this isn't like this, like seems pretty reasonable. It says the evidence has led PFAs and most other PFAAs and other PFAs to be either banned by or heavily restricted within the past 20, 30 years, except in China and some other Asian countries. The health guidelines surrounding PFAs have also been readjusted to reflect the chemical's toxicity. For example, in the U.S., the safe level of exposure to PFOA as determined by the Environmental Protection Agency is 37.5 million times less than it once was. Oh, okay. So what they're saying is it used to be really high, and now they've moved it down. It says PFAS do not break down easily, which means they remain in the environment long after they are produced and are just as toxic. This has led scientists to nickname PFAS forever chemicals. Okay, so there's these chemicals and they're bad for you. You shouldn't drink it because they show up in the rainwater. I mean, you didn't even write a whole article about this. This is pretty standard. I get it. It says in the study, let's get more into it. In the study, researchers gathered data from rainwater samples collected across the globe, revealing that PFAS are still abundant in rainwater everywhere on Earth in concentration above the safety guidelines set by the EPA and other similar regulatory bodies in other countries. Experts had hoped the concentration of PFAS might have started declining by now, but this is clearly not the case. Instead, researchers think the PFAS represent a new planetary boundary, a conceptual limit which something becomes unsafe to humans that we've already exceeded, he added. The most striking finding was that PFOA levels in rainwater are at least 10 times over the EPA's level at every location sampled on the planet, including the Tibetan Plateau and Antarctica. Now, look, this guy's from Sweden. No offense. No, that's not what I mean in a negative way. Why are we using the EPA as the standard for worldwide drinking water contamination findings and settings? It says the most striking finding was that the researchers are still unsure exactly how they're being transported to the most remote parts of the globe. The team hypothesizes that PFAS on the surface of the ocean are being re-injected in the atmosphere by ocean spray and then transported to other regions where they all fall as rain. They plan to test this hypothesis in future research. It's also possible the PFAS are still leaking into the environment from landfills. My question to you, scientist, Mr. and Mrs. Scientist, is this. Did these PFAS exist in 1950? Did they exist in 1920 in the water? And we know that they're man-made chemicals now, but were they always this? Was it always this bad and we just found out? I need a time frame. I need a better time frame. It said it's too early to predict the overall public health impacts PFAS-rich rainwater will cause around the globe, but they might already be underway. We have been exposed at even higher levels for the past 20 to 30 years already. Now, we just now understand better the potential consequences of that exposure. Now, look, my understanding is they did this study in August and they released it. This is when they released this study. Yet we're talking now, we've been exposed to even higher levels for the past 20 to 30 years. Now, did we test the water then? Because I'm going to lay it out for you in a way that hopefully isn't too offensive. You know, the weather. So like the weather, like tomorrow, tell me what it's supposed to do weather-wise. Is it supposed to rain? Going to get rain? What's the temperature going to be? Okay. And then what about 7 days from now? What about 14 days from now? The forecast is always wildly off the further you go out because it's almost impossible to model this stuff accurately. There's so many different inputs. And so what I would say is this. Look, are you using this modeling to extrapolate what could have been the levels 20 or 30 years ago? Or do you have actual testing from all over the globe, the PFA? Now, don't want you to think that I don't think this is a problem. It's not a problem to me because I'm not drinking the water. But it is problematic. I don't, it says the impact of PFAs will likely be greater in developing countries where millions of people rely on rainwater as their only source of drinking water, Cousin said. But even in certain regions of developed nations, such as Western Australia, drinking rainwater is still surprisingly common. Now, the idea that someone in Western Australia is drinking rainwater, and that's totally cool. I don't know. I'm going to go to a map because I don't even know Australia well enough to know if Western Australia is where all the people are or what's going on. I'm just going to type in Australia in my Google. I spelled it right. It's a country. Okay, Western Australia, Perth, Sydney, I believe, is like the big one. So I'm going to say that maybe people in Perth are drinking. It's fine. Whatever. I didn't make the rules. Let's continue. It says the levels of PFAS will eventually decrease as they get cycled into the deep ocean, but this is a gradual process that could take many decades. Now, I've also read, this is not hopefully false science. I've read that scientists have figured out a way to take it out of the water by boiling it or something. I don't know. But all I would offer to you is this study garnered clicks, enough clicks that it was part of the Google Trends. Think about that. I mean, you're not drinking where you live. I don't think you're drinking rainwater exclusively. It's one of those things like in my lifetime, they'll say this causes cancer. Well, if you inject an animal like a mouse and give them like a human dose of like lead, it's probably not gonna go well. But that seems obvious, doesn't it? Anyway, I thought it was interesting. Like, don't drink the water, basically. But you weren't drinking it anyway. I mean, that's the best I can do. All right, moving on. I thought this was interesting. National Association of Home Builders, they write some good stuff. They have good editors or something. This came out on August 11th. It's August 21st. Why 10 days late, John? I see hundreds of articles a day, and I'm sorry that I don't get them all to you in a timely manner. It says rising mortgage rates, high inflation, low existing inventory, and elevated home prices contributed to housing affordability falling to its lowest point since the Great Recession in the second quarter of 2022. I believe that. I think that houses are very, very unaffordable at this moment in time. And I think that inflation is the largest driver because, look, I mean, if my dollar doesn't go as far as it did before, and then you add the double whammy of higher mortgage rates or borrowing rates, not good. And sellers, to be honest with you, sellers want the most they can get on their property 99% of the time. They don't care about some sort of macroeconomic trends. They just want to sell their house for more money than, they possibly, as much money as they possibly can. So, this is why you get into this issue. It says, according to the National Association of Home Builders, Wells Fargo Housing Opportunity Index, just 42% of new and existing homes sold between the beginning of April and the end of June were affordable to families earning the U.S. median income of $90,000. I just want you to know I make far less than the median income of $90,000, both my wife and I. This is a sharp drop from the 56.9% of homes sold in the first quarter that were affordable to median income earners. And let me just tell you a story to try and show you where I'm at in life. And you may be better off, and good for you. But we've got a subdivision. I think my home, if I sold it tomorrow, let's just say 275. Okay, let's just say that. Maybe I'll get more, maybe I'll get less, depending on certain things. But let's just say 275. Now, there's a subdivision being built across the street from me. The houses start in the $500,000 range, and they'll go up to $1 million. And my wife and I look at each other and say, who would pay $500,000 to live where we live? Like, what's wrong with someone? And then the house that they buy, it may have more square footage, but it's on a lot that's just like tiny, where you're literally going to be living next door to your neighbors. You're going to be able to hear every word they say, because it'll be like they're living right next to you, because they are. But oftentimes, like, I look at what I make in the real estate business. I look at what I make in general, and what I see is kind of not as an offense, but it's kind of sickening. I don't make enough money to be able to afford a $500,000 house. I don't make enough money to be able to afford a $700,000 or $800,000 house. This to me is just unbelievable how one could do that. But, my median income is less than $90,000. And so, if it were more than that, could I afford that? Maybe, but I don't know that I've never really made a ton of money in my life. I've never really made a ton of money. So this idea that I would go piss it all away the minute that I earned it, not likely. Not likely. It's hard to make a buck on your own. It's hard. It says the HOI shows that the national median home price jumped to an all-time high of $390,000 in the second quarter of 2022, surpassing the previous record high of $365,000 set a quarter earlier. Meanwhile, the average mortgage rate soared from 3.86 to 5.33% during this period. The top 5 most affordable housing markets in the second quarter of 2022: Lansing, Indianapolis, Toledo, Harrisburg, and Scranton-Wilkes-Barre. The top 5 least affordable major housing markets, all located in California, was Los Angeles, Anaheim, San Diego, San Francisco, and San Jose. It says, meanwhile, Elmira, New York was rated the nation's most affordable small market, with 91.8% of homes sold in the second quarter being affordable to families earning the median income of $77,900. At least the top 5 least affordable small housing markets were also in the Golden State. At the very bottom of the affordability chart was Salinas, California, where 5.3% of all new and existing homes sold in the second quarter were affordable to families earning the area's median income of $90,100. So what do I think? Well, why? No offense to you. Why are you living in California if you can't afford it? What's California got for you in its quality of life? Has it got good weather? Is that the best that you can do? That's a very important thing. But is it worth all the other, I'd say, things that aren't so great about California? Is it worth that? To me, it's not. I think to a lot of other people, it's not worth it either. I think that's why you see a mass migration taking place from places like California and New York to places like Florida and Texas. I don't think Texas is hot. I don't think that's, necessarily. And I don't know that Texas is going to stay the way it is. I don't know that Florida is going to stay the way, with all these people moving there. They might adopt the very same policies that make it unenjoyable to live in those other states. We'll see. But look, even today I was on the Twitter and there was an article about, you'll own nothing and like it. That as we inflate the value of so many goods that no one can use them except for the very wealthy, it's going to become where you don't own anything. And no personal property doesn't seem like a great way to live. Because I do believe that your liberty, this is pretty heavy, but I think that your liberty is defined by your ability to own things in a democracy. If you don't own anything, you don't think to protect things like you would if you owned it. Now, this is my opinion. If you don't own your own house, if you don't own your own car, if you don't own your own, what else is there? I want to say like school, but that's you own it in the sense that you're in the community. But I don't think that it's a good thing that kids are graduating from college and the chances of them even finding a starter home for something is not great. And then they're going to go into an apartment where the rents are so high that they aren't going to be able to save any money for a home ever. It's bad. It's a bad deal. This is my opinion. If you have another opinion, I mean, I'm not saying that kids are entitled to houses as soon as they graduate from college. Don't get me wrong. But this idea of affordability, that you may not be able to ever purchase a house because the rents are so high and then the home prices are so high, that's not a good thing. Not a good thing. As a real estate agent, I'm speaking on behalf of that group. Yes. I'm biased, though. Just understand I'm biased. Let's move on. I thought this was an interesting article. It says 7 things you don't actually need to worry about during your house hunt. Really, there's things I don't need to worry about during my house hunt. Well, what could they possibly be? It says buying a home is stressful even in the best buyer's market conditions. It is stressful. It is stressful no matter if you're a buyer or a seller. And these people that say like technology is going to solve that problem, the stress problem, really aren't being genuine with their analysis, because you're going to make it even worse because you're going to have fewer people in the transactions and more digital, automated systems that are going to cause people to be like stuck in the machine. It says, but when homes are flying off the shelf at record pace with bidding wars and crowded open houses to boot, it becomes downright overwhelming. It is overwhelming. It says, fortunately, there are a few elements of home buying stress that you can cross off your list. I chatted with real estate experts to get the scoop on the low priority things that you don't actually need to worry about, from landscaping to pricing. Well, those seem like pretty big things to worry about. But anyway, specifics aside, above all else, try to surround yourself with seriously thoughtful and experienced experts who have your interest in mind. Realistically, buyers can't be aware of everything and hold down a day job. I think that's true. Says Nicole Ruth, a Denver-based lender with Fairway Independent Mortgage Company. So the second best option is aligning with a strong A-team consisting of a knowledgeable realtor, lender, and inspector. The A-team realtor is then relying on a strong title company, while the A-team lender needs a great appraiser. Well, I don't know. I think if you get a good agent and you get a good lender, you can go pretty far. But, define good. What would be a good lender to you? I'd say one that was responsive. You say one that has the best rates? Not necessarily. Because if they have a better rate, but they have a lot of fees, then what are you really getting? I'm just asking the question. It says, trying to time the market perfectly. So this is one thing you should not worry about. I agree with this. Just off the bat, when you're searching for a home to live in, you should absolutely spend some time researching or talking to your lender or real estate agent about broader real estate trends in your area. But you shouldn't live and die by trying to time the market just right. That's absolutely right. It doesn't make any sense. Like, for instance, when you die, I hate to use that as an example, but when you die, like, you don't care when your house is sold because you're dead. Like, you don't care about how the market's doing because you're dead. You may say, well, I really wanted to leave that really nice house to my family and my kids and have them make a lot of money off it, but now they're not going to make as much. That's okay. That's okay. On the trying to time the market perfectly, no, I don't need that. But I have told buyers that you have to buy a house before we can sell yours. And I don't feel bad about that because of this market and how hard it is to actually get a house under contract in St. Louis as of last weekend. I don't know about it this weekend because I'm not in the marketplace. But what I am saying is yes, you should not be concerned about trying to time the market perfectly. That's okay. It says, instead, let your own personal finances and readiness determine when, where, and how you buy a place. Buying on the dips is an investor game. Real estate is a long-term investment and a roof over your head. Buy when your time is right, not the market's timing. So here's what I would say to that. I have some young buyers in St. Louis City that are looking to buy a place. They're currently renting. And I've told them, I said, if we don't see what you want, just take that money that you're saving and we'll have a bigger down payment. We have a better chance to get a home that you really, really want. Don't worry about don't worry about missing out. The right house will find you and we'll find it together. We'll get it done. But in the meantime, just keep saving money aside so that you can have a better down payment or more favorable borrowing terms. It says making a profit later. Too often, Omaha-based real estate agent Ryan Renners encounters buyers who are consumed with trying to figure out how much money they'll make when they eventually sell their new home in the future. And while it's definitely important to consider resale value when buying a house, it can be counterproductive to focus solely on your home's potential for making you money. That's true. If you sat there and said if you said I'm only concerned about making money on this particular home, then you've got a real problem. Let me just offer two things. One, in general, a smaller home, okay, in an area will not increase in value as much as a larger home in a particular area, okay? Now, the next thing I wanted to say is this. You need to buy the house that suits you. So if you're a young couple, no kids, you can get by on a 2-bedroom, 1-bath home. Go for it. Go for it. But when you're in your 60s or let's say when you're in your 50s and you have like 3 kids that never moved out of the house, and now you need to buy a house and you're buying a 2-bedroom home, it doesn't make a whole lot of sense. As far as making a profit later, look, right now, don't think of it like today. Don't think about increasing your profit or making a profit, but think about how you could make a property better over time. That is something reasonable to think about. I've got one house under contract where I think that they should concentrate on adding square footage over time to the home. I think that will bring the most amount of money in return for them. Now, will they do it? I don't know. But I did give them that suggestion. It says, when you worry about the investment value of a home, you sometimes buy a home you don't love or an area you can barely afford. It's okay to worry about how easy the home will be able to sell 5 or 10 years, but don't obsess about how much profit you'll make. Exactly. Like we never know what's going to happen in the future. Never. The next thing is the list price. Although it's wise to set a budget and stick to it during your house hunt, remember that everything's negotiable, especially the list price. This isn't really true right now. A house that comes on the market that's perfect in the first weekend, you're not negotiating anything. You'd be lucky if they take your offer. It says within a reasonable range, buyers can, to some extent, disregard the listing price. No, not really. List prices are not the same as contract prices. They can be negotiated with a good agent and might be more of a reflection of the seller's ambition rather than what the market will bear. Not that a buyer should be looking at a unit twice their budget, but they should be open to searching outside their desired range. I disagree with this wholeheartedly. I think you should worry about the list price right up front. And here's an example. Look, if someone comes to market and they list their house for $250,000 and you go and offer them $225,000 the first weekend, you're an idiot. It's just not necessary. Now, the other thing is look, the list price does matter. Okay. If we have a bunch of $200,000 houses and we have a bunch of $400,000 houses, asking prices, I bet you the two are far different in the things that are in the home for the most part. The other thing is understand that if you buy a house that's got some sort of impacted issue, for instance, if you buy a 2-bedroom, 1-bath home, no matter what you do, unless you add a bedroom or unless you add a bathroom, you're still stuck at a 2-bedroom, 1-bath home. And the general market for that is going to be smaller than someone that has a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. That's just the way it is. So I would be concerned about the list price. I disagree with that. Bad or non-existent landscaping. Who's worrying about this ever? It says if huge shrubs are crowding the front door, overgrown trees are dangling precariously over the roof, resist the urge to turn and run. Bad landscaping is just a distraction that you can easily fix once you move in. And if there's also no landscaping, that's also a quick fix. A visit to the nursery can take care of all of that. I disagree with this too. Oftentimes I'll have buyers that are in the backyards looking at houses, and there'll be these monstrous trees with branches hanging over the garage, branches hanging over the electric service. And I pointed out, I said, look, this is about a $6,000 tree to get cut down. This will be another $6,000. That's $12,000. We're not getting that benefit of the $12,000 in the price of the home. and a discount. So we should be paying attention to that. Now, if there's a big bush in the front yard and you want to cut it down, that's no big deal. But you should pay attention to trees. They are destructive and they're expensive to get rid of. I'm just saying, I'm not against trees in general. I'm just saying, as a real estate agent, you might want to pay attention to that. It says how long it's been on the market. Now they say you shouldn't pay attention to that. I think that's ridiculous. It says as the housing market starts to cool off, homes are now staying on the market longer than they have for the past 2 years. But that doesn't necessarily mean there's anything wrong with them. Perhaps the homeowner has listed too high and the sellers were not ready to sell or accept a lower offer. Or perhaps maybe the seller is concerned that listing at the right price will bring in even lower offers. If you like a home, make an offer. Don't be embarrassed. I think that if a home has been on the market for more than 14 days in this market, I think that you should write an offer less than asking with inspections contingency, with finance contingency. And I don't think you should feel, and an appraisal writer, obviously. I don't think you should be embarrassed about it. I don't think you should be concerned about it. If you go the first weekend, okay, and you know there's 4 other offers on the property and you're going to write an offer like that, which is below asking, I just feel like you're wasting everyone's time. You're wasting the agent's time because they got to read through it. And why should they read through garbage? You're wasting your agent's time because why should they write up garbage? And you're wasting the seller's time because why should they read your garbage either? You should pay attention to that. I disagree. Cosmetic Fixes, though it can be challenging, try not to worry about clutter, bad paint colors, dirty windows, dated appliance, and other cosmetic issues that draw your attention when touring a house. Instead, take a more zoomed out approach to the house and the property as a whole. So just real estate agent Mahal Greenberg. I disagree with this too. Let me go over this real quick. You should worry about clutter. It speaks to how the seller lives. You should worry about bad paint colors because they're ugly. You should worry about dirty windows because look, you're listing the house and you don't even have time to clean the windows. Dated appliances. Look, you need to, dated appliances thing. I mean, it depends. If it's an old refrigerator from the 1950s, that's pretty cool. I don't have any problem with that. If you're talking about how, I would pay attention if you're keeping the appliances. It's also odd to me that someone would ever fix up their cabinets and everything, but not their appliances at the same time. It says, how do you feel in the home? She says, does the floor plan make sense? Do you like the view? It's easy to get caught up and expect perfection, but it's rare to find a home that you don't want to change just a little bit, even if you're happy to move in as is. Exactly. I mean, for kitchens, you're probably going to end up redoing the kitchen anyway while you're at the house. So why worry about it? I'm just saying. What the neighbors say, don't worry about what the neighbors say. Interesting. This is the last one. It says there's an age-old bit of real estate advice that recommends prospective buyers talk to nearby residents to get more context about the neighborhood and the home itself. And while this intel can certainly be helpful, it's also important to take it with a grain of salt and do your own research. The neighbor's feedback can be constructive and offer an objective insider view, but often the neighbor will have too emotionally charged feedback about the premises based upon a bad relationship with the seller, the seller's pet, the co-op or condo board, the landlord, or because it's just their personality. I agree with that. You could ask one neighbor, like say one neighbor is your friend and one neighbor you hate, and they happen to talk to the neighbor you hate. It'll give you quite a different impression of the property than someone who likes you. I don't know. So there are things that I don't agree about with this article. Let's go over it. I do care about cosmetic fixes. I do care about how long it's been on the market. I do care about bad or non-existent landscaping when it comes to trees. I do care about the list price because why am I wasting my time writing an offer for one they won't accept? I do worry about making a profit later. We don't want to buy a house where there's no reason for it to ever believe that it's going to go up in value because it's functionally obsolete. And then trying to time the market properly. I agree that that's not something we want to spend a lot of time on. I mean, we want to use that information when we're writing an offer. We're going to use that information when we're going to look at houses. But as far as trying to time the market perfectly, we're not there. We're not there. And so what do you want to do? Do you want to keep going on articles or do you want to quit for the day? I want to keep going on articles. Let's read something that I think is hilarious. It's in, oh, I almost hit the wrong button there. That's not the right page. Okay, it says, this is from Realtor Magazine. News and commentary. Yoon, possible economic downturn likely to be mild. Now, the economist for the National Association of Realtors has said that the possible economic downturn will likely be mild. Now, he doesn't know. Again, you should pay attention to forecasting about as much as you pay attention to the weather. I mean, 10 days from now, we have no idea what's going on. So let's continue. The country isn't officially in a recession yet, despite two consecutive quarters of national contraction of the gross domestic product, a commonly cited indicator of an economic downturn, says Lawrence Yoon, the chief economist for the National Association of Realtors. And several healthy economic trends, including a robust job market coupled with new efforts to boost affordable housing, could stave off a more serious slump. Now, that's garbage. What are the new efforts to boost affordable housing? Seriously. New guidance from the Treasury enabling state and local governments to use leftover emergency COVID-19 funding from the American Rescue Plan to create affordable housing should help ease the inventory crisis and counteract the effects of a tightening economy. Now, this is ridiculous. You gave money to states for COVID funds, and now you're using it for housing? Why don't you just send it back to the government? We're in deficit. Why would you just allow it to earmark it to something else? It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. It says, still there are questions about whether U.S. has entered stagflation, a period of high inflation, combined with an economic slowdown, as many Americans feel the frustrating effects of a slower economy and a higher consumer prices. I think that we're totally in stagflation. It says, but the National Bureau of Economic Research, the council that watches over U.S. business cycles, has yet to declare a recession, Yoon notes. Well, what is the politics of the National Bureau of Economic Research? In what ways will they be benefited by not calling a recession or calling a recession? Does it depend on who's running the White House, who's running the country? I'm just asking, is it the political proclivity of those? There are two major factors at work counteracting current economic conditions. Job creation is robust. Total payroll jobs were 150 million in early 22 before the onset of the panic. Young said at National Association of Realtors Real Estate Forecast Summit last week. While COVID-19 shutdowns precipitated a steep decline in jobs, each month showed strong job creation after the restrictions were lifted. Though there is a variation across the country, Yoon says, the job market has largely recovered. We are essentially at the same level of jobs in W-2 employment now compared to pre-COVID days. Data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics shows that right now there are more job openings than unemployed people. As of June, there were 5.9 million workers searching for jobs and over 10 million job openings. So while high unemployment typically characterizes a recession, the ratio is almost 2-to-1. It's a very unusual recession if we're in one. Well, what just maybe is going on that no one talks about is how many of those people with jobs are working a second or even third job just to make ends meet? Like, what's to say that the quality of the jobs that do exist and are currently available are anything close to what they were pre-pandemic? Like you know, if you've got inflation at 20% and you're working a second job just to make ends meet, you're going to have high job participation, high workforce participation, but that doesn't mean that the economy is great. It certainly doesn't mean it's great for those people who have to work 2 and 3 jobs just to get by. Now that's him. That's Lawrence Yoon. I don't want you to think that I have a different belief than this man does. He's an economist. He's being paid every year to be an economist. I'm not. I'm a real estate agent, and I get paid to buy homes and help people sell theirs. Commercial real estate is growing, though recession typically means more bad news for commercial properties. The commercial market as a whole is flourishing despite a stagnant office sector. Rental demand is booming, and rents are up significantly. But is that a good thing? Is that a good thing? Rental demand booming and rents up significantly. We talked about this earlier. That does go to the heart of home affordability when you can't save to buy a home because your rents are so high. Demand for warehouse space has surged as retailers stock up to avoid supply chain disruptions. That's a narrative that I don't necessarily believe. Hotel bookings, air travel, and park attendance are now above pre-pandemic levels. All this increased activity has led to high demand for new commercial construction. The improving construction sector means that any recession will be mild. Now, that's what he said. Now, look, I'm my own man, and this is my own show. And I do a live stream maybe 6 or 7 days a week. I talk all the time. I'm not going to remember this article when it comes back up. If the economy goes in the tank and Lawrence Yun writes an article that says, we knew it was going to happen all along, first of all, he's not. Okay, number one. Number two, I'm pointing to this article. This person says it's going to be mild. I don't believe that. I don't believe that in any circumstance it's going to be mild. I think we're going to see a chain reaction of a lot of nasty, nasty things, and I'm just kind of waiting. And I'm not excited about it. I'm not looking forward to it. I think it's going to be very hurtful for all Americans, but I don't know when it's going to be. And so, and don't give me the praise. Don't say, John, I appreciate you forecasting doom. Understand, I'm forecasting doom without a date, so that doesn't make me like a great prognosticator or anything like that. I'm just saying things have a real chance of going very poorly. And this article saying that things are going to be mild, we just disagree. It says, despite the positive economic signs, falling home sales remain a concern. Home sales are down largely because mortgage rates have risen sharply. But that's what the Fed wanted. They wanted to stop the bubble in real estate. It says if interest rates rise further, then home sales will decline even more, even if there's no recession. One long-term solution is to increase the housing supply, which is why the Treasury's announcement is meaningful. The change in ARP guidance could mean significantly more funds going to housing supply and a reduction in costs for buyers over time. Another factor that will help in the short term is employees finding a way to match workers to openings and fill jobs. We still need workers in an environment with rising mortgage rates that will drive home sales. Is jobs. That's what he thinks. I'm not going to fault him for thinking that way. I am a little bit uncomfortable with the idea that we're not in a recession. It's been described as 2 consecutive quarters of GDP shrinking, and now all of a sudden it's not. Because why exactly? Because we have high job numbers. And why do we have high job numbers? We talked about that. I don't trust the way the economy is going. And I always tell my buyers, even right now, look, if you're not going to live in your house for more than 5 years, not going to live in your house for more than 10 years, we don't want to be buying a house right now. We just don't. I'm sorry. I mean, will I help you buy a house? Yes. But if you're asking my opinion, I would not be buying a house. Now, if you're planning on owning a house for the next 30 years, by all means, go buy a house. Inflation will take, that's the real issue. Look, people think, and wrongly think, oh, look at all this money I made on the sale of my house. I bought my house in 2007 for $200,000, and now my house is worth $225,000 or $250,000 or $300,000. Look at all this money I made. No, that's inflation. That's inflation. That's the erasing of the value of money. That's what that is. It's not that you did anything. You literally sat in your house. You didn't do anything. That's just how bad inflation is. And you could say the same thing. Like, I bought this house and now it's not worth as much as it was. Well, that's deflation. Really? I mean, there's a market and then there's inflation. So I just don't feel comfortable with the idea, the insinuation that the market's fine and we should just all be happy about it. Doesn't seem like a good plan. For those wondering, I did not win the lottery this week on Saturday night. I did get one number, but I did not. And so I only play Powerball. I don't play the other one. 51 million in cash is the next drawing on Monday. I will be happy with just 1 million. If you just give me 1 million, I could live with that. So anyway, that's where I'm at on that. I'm running towards the end. I like to do an hour. I don't see any comments. I don't see anyone in the chat. I'm sad about this. Do me a favor. Let's talk about this for a minute. If you know 10 friends, okay, they don't even have to like my content. Can you have them subscribe? I would really like to get 1 million subscribers. I'm at that point now where it's like, that's what I want. You say, what about 300,000 subscribers? I'll take 300,000 subscribers. I'll take any number of subscribers you got. I would just like 1 million. You say, John, well, you only get monetized at 1,000. That's like, I don't really care about monetization as much as I care about a lot of subscribers. You say, well, that's a boomer thing, John. You want people to watch your videos. You don't care about the number of subscribers you have. No, I do. I kind of do. Even if they're not real people, I would really like to get up to 1 million subscribers. To me, that would be a win. That would be something fun and exciting, and I would appreciate that. So if you can help in any way, please do so. I'm calling for your assistance right now. Please get me to 1 million subscribers. You and me together. Let's do it. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell people that you don't even like. Hey, there's a guy on YouTube. I kind of like to watch his stuff. It's John from Deerwood Realty. He seems to know what's going on, or he doesn't know anything, but it's fun to watch him act like he does anyway. It's fun to watch him pontificate on the real estate market around him. With that, I'm going to head on out. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening. I'll catch you on the next one.